The lesson that we're working on today is called Solving One-Step Equations. If you could please find this page in your packet, your notes packet, and fill it in with me as we go through it together. Solving one-step equations is a 6th grade MCA standard, so when you take the MCA test in April or May, some of the questions that you'll have to do will be like this. Today the method we're going to use for solving one-step equations is a method that's called undoing. And it's called undoing because when we see the equations, we're always going to do the opposite of what the equation says. So for example, in this equation, x plus 6 equals 14, we can start by drawing a line straight down from the equal sign to divide the equation into two parts. The equal sign tells us that this equation is perfectly balanced. It's telling us that x plus 6 is exactly equal to 14. But we're hoping to have the x by itself. So what we need to do is get rid of the plus 6. And to get rid of the plus 6, we're going to do the opposite of adding 6. We're going to subtract 6. And that's why the method's called undoing. We're undoing adding 6 by subtracting 6. And because the equation is perfectly balanced, if we subtract 6 on the left-hand side, we need to subtract 6 on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, 6 minus 6 is 0, so we get to cross those out. On the right-hand side, 14 minus 6 is 8, and that's our solution. So we know that x equals 8. In order to check our answer, we can go back into the equation, put 8 in place of the variable, and try 8 plus 6 really does equal 14, so we know we have it right. In the next equation, it's a subtraction problem. We can put the line down from the equal sign. We're hoping to have x by itself. We need to undo minus 11, and the opposite of subtracting 11 is to add 11. If we add 11 on the left-hand side, we need to add 11 on the right-hand side. We always have to do the same thing on both sides of the line. Minus 11 plus 11 equals 0, so we can cross that off. And 45 plus 11 equals 56. And that's the answer. We could test the answer by putting 56 in place of the variable and trying 56 minus 11. We'd see that it does equal 45, and then we know the answer is correct. The next equation on your sheet, and keep taking the notes with me, it says 8, then has a dot, which means times in algebra, so we have 8 times w equals 56. Now you might just know that, you just might know what goes in that spot, but to solve this equation by undoing, we want the w to be by itself. To undo timesing by 8, we would divide both sides by 8. 8 divided by 8 equals 1, so we'll cross that out. We could put a 1 here. We usually would not put a 1. 1w and w are actually the same thing. And then we would do 56 divided by 8 is 7, so we know the answer is 7. We could check it by trying 8 times 7, it really does equal 56, so we know we got it. We have 2 more equations and then 2 word problems. The next equation doesn't have any operation. It doesn't have plus, minus, subtract, divide, but when a variable and a number are right next to each other in algebra, that means multiply. So we're splitting our equation down the center, getting the variable by itself, and because this says 13 times w, even though we don't see the time sign, the opposite of multiplying by 13 is to divide by 13. We have to do that on both sides. The 13's cancel each other out because 13 divided by 13 is 1. This time I won't put the 1 here. And 65 divided by 13 is 5. If you were doing this problem on your calculator, you want to make sure to put the top number in your calculator first. When we're turning a fraction into a whole number or a decimal, we would take the top number divided by the bottom number. And there's the solution. In the next problem, looks like a fraction, and it is a fraction. It's also a division problem. This means w divided by 4 equals 7. So if we want to undo dividing by 4, we would multiply both sides by 4. The opposite of dividing by 4 would be to multiply by 4. On the left-hand side, dividing by 4 and multiplying by 4 cancel each other out. And we're left with just a W, which is exactly what we want. And on the right-hand side, 7 times 4 is 28. That's the answer. We could test it. We could put the 28 in place of the variable and just try it. 28 divided by 4 really does equal 7. We'd also like to take a look at some word problems. You'll be able to see the whole problem on your notes packet. It doesn't quite fit here on my screen. But Samantha found D perfect sand dollars on the beach. She gave 15 of them to her friends. She kept 8 for herself. Write an equation to model the situation and solve the equation to see how many sand dollars she found. We want to model the word problem by going in the same order in our equation as the order in the word problem. So in the word problem, the first thing that happens is Samantha finds D sand dollars. So I'll put down D. That's how many she found. The next thing that happens is she gave 15 of them to her friends. So giving away 15 would be like subtracting 15. And she kept 8 for herself, which would mean that it would equal 8. So we wrote an equation, and then it also says solve the equation. Just like we did above, we'll split the equation, try to get the variable by itself, and we're going to do that by undoing the minus 15. That means we'll add 15 to both sides. We have to keep our equation balanced, so we do the same thing on both sides. Minus 15 and plus 15 cancel out. 8 plus 15 is 23, and we'll know that she started with 23 sand dollars. And our last problem, before you get working on your own, it says Josie wanted to spend her money, M, evenly on each of the 4 days of her vacation. She figured she could spend $35 each day. Well, in this problem, we'll start with what the problem starts with, Josie's money. So we're going to start with M. She wants to spend it evenly on each of the 4 days. That means she wants to take her money and divide it by 4. And that she figured she could spend $35 a day, so that means it would equal 35. When she divided it by 4, equal 35. We wrote the equation, and then to solve it, we want to get M by itself. This is division, M divided by 4, and we want to undo that. So what we're going to be doing is multiplying by 4. That's the opposite of dividing by 4. The 4's will cancel each other out, and 35 times 4 is 140. That's the answer. We now know that she started with $140.